Andrew, are you in a good mental space?
Yeah,
Nice. That's what we want to hear
Excellent.
and see.
Excellent. That's the best.
yeah,
Good Friday, boys. Good
I'm okay.
Friday.
Hey, the Lord is almost risen. No.
What's up, guys?
Oh, is this it? Is this the show?
I mean, we're recording now.
This is the
Wait, we've
show.
been recording this entire time?
No, just for the last 30 seconds.
We're
We
gonna cut
record these things?
everything you say. We're gonna cut anyway, Scotty.
Yeah, it's part of the best.
All right, welcome to Ruthless Obsession. I'm your host, Kevin. These two beautiful gentlemen above me in the video are Andrew and Scott. I'm not messing around today. Okay, we're going right into it. There's a lot of sports things happening. We've had some fun the last couple episodes, joking around with our little brother. We have too much to go through, so we're just going to go straight into it. Okay, just to give everybody a little taste of what is to come. We're going to be talking some NFL news, as always. The NFL news never stops, but specifically pro days and some preliminary draft talk, as well as the NFL's expansion to 17 game regular seasons and what some of the implications might be. And then we're also going to touch on the start of the 2021 MLB season, which actually kicked off yesterday, but neither here nor there. We're going to get into it. So let's just start off with the NFL stuff. So big news: NFL passes another ruling that will extend the regular seasons from 16 games to 17 games. So I have some thoughts on this, but from a high level, can I just get initial just reaction? Just is it a good thing or a bad thing, Scotty?
I think that it is, as a fan, it's a good thing. Overall, it's more weeks, more football, and we love football. And it also, removing one preseason game, which no one really cares about anyway. It's like that's just like, I mean, preseason is important. Don't get me wrong. I see you're looking around. I know, but like yeah, you seem like that was like a controversial statement, but having one less preseason game that people can get injured, for and all that type of stuff, and adding that to the regular season, I think is fantastic overall. There's definitely some negative implications here, but overall, yeah, feeling pretty good about it.
Drew.
I love it. I
Okay,
I
awesome,
love it.
awesome. That's good. That's
More
good. I
games,
want
the better.
more games, the better. The bigger deal, I think, is exactly what Scotty was kind of touching on, which is there's more games. Well, actually, no. You said that eliminating a preseason game eliminates the chances of people getting hurt. Did you say that?
No, he said that eliminating one of the preseason games and putting it into the regular season increases the chances of somebody getting hurt in the
Mhm.
regular season,
Which, yeah, that's you're right.
which
Okay,
is
so
true. Yeah.
But
that
it will just inherently reduce preseason injuries though, which are always the worst. Like injuries happen throughout the course of the season, of course, but what really sucks is a guy like Jordy Nelson tears his ACL in the very first preseason game and he's out all year. Like yeah, you get hurt in the regular season. That's just part of playing the game. But you getting hurt in the preseason, that's just bogus because you don't even need to be out there right now.
so you're happier if they get injured week one than if they get injured week four of the preseason.
Yeah.
Why would you
I'm
be
not. I'm
happy
not.
ever?
Well, I wouldn't be happy. You
Well,
would be
week
put the
one would at
happier in this
least
situation.
matter.
Yeah, at least you get some like real playing time and real value out of that player versus having them get injured in a game that doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
I think what's going to happen, and this is going to cause some messes, especially in the fantasy football world. But I think you're going to see teams intentionally resting guys, even if it's only for a half. Let's say, even if it's a competitive game, but like the Bucks are playing the Lions, and they're not too worried about it. They're up by a score or two. They might sit not Brady, but hell, maybe they will sit Brady. They might sit some of their stars, and Mike Evans, who's always banged up but plays through it. Um, I could see that happening quite frequently and without much notice. So,
Absolutely, and I could see especially games like blowout games. Like those games where it's a 1 o'clock game on week I don't know 12 or whatever, and a team's losing by 20 points in the third quarter. You usually get some garbage time touchdowns and stuff that like actually help out from a fantasy football standpoint. We might not get those now. They'll put the backups in, or they'll put the whatever. So
Well, so one thing that I think you really have to watch out for with stuff like this is it's predominantly about offensive lines and running backs are the ones that I care about the most losing a preseason game and potentially moving that like an injury into the regular season because you know those are the most important parts of the team in my opinion, the O-line, the running back, like people who are every down just go go go, right? Like so I would like to see less injuries there. So I'm curious if like maybe they start camp a little bit early or something. I mean, who knows like what you would have to do to compensate that.
I mean, right now, the plan for OTAs and off-season workouts is not changing. I think the NFL calendar has hardly changed whatsoever. I'm pretty sure teams still report at the same time. And if you really get into it, a lot of these athletes, I mean, they're professional athletes. They're working out, 6 days a week. Their job is to make sure that they are ready to play. So one could even argue that they don't even need that much practice in the off season, especially OTAs that are especially they're voluntary for a lot of veteran players. When you get into the summertime, if you show up out of shape or I don't know, slow or not mentally with it, then it doesn't matter when you start a preseason. You're going to be out of shape. You know what I mean? Like that month of in August where you play some preseason games, it's really for fine tuning things and starting to get people working in a game plan. So I think that I don't think that this will have any impact from a preseason or preparation standpoint. I think that the biggest impact will be come Sunday when you're up and you're going to sit Alvin Kamara because he's your only good player, and you don't want to risk him getting injured because you have an extra game. So the other thing is the actual matchups. So I'm pretty sure, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here, but from what I've gathered is how it's going to work is this year all of the AFC teams are going to host the additional game, and teams will be playing the team in the NFC in an NFC division that finished in the same spot of the division, meaning the Browns finished in the third spot of the AFC North, so they're going to play the
it's
okay,
it's
yeah,
it,
go ahead.
it's actually um even more measured than that. So they're basically taking everyone in the AFC, seeding them 1 through 16. Okay, and each number one will play each other from the previous season. So the Packers are playing the Chiefs because they were they were the two number one seeds each in each conference. So it's not based on division and division rank; it's overall rank
Conference rank.
combined, which to me makes this even more impactful because and it's going to really, in my opinion, create a little bit more parity in the league, and teams will have more similar records now than before. Because if you have the Chiefs playing the Packers and you have the Lions playing the Texans, for example, like those are two wildly different matchups. That and the teams that finished really well in the previous season have an even harder schedule now than they did before, and the teams that did really poorly have even less of a difficult schedule in the context of the entire season. So you'll I think you'll see a lot more final records that are closer to each other than before. Maybe you won't have a 14-3 team anymore. You'll have a lot more. Um, Boy, this math is going to be really. The math was always so easy. This is another impact to the schedule. You could just do, oh yeah, 3-13. Now I got to do like 3-14 is the going to be your predicted final schedule.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
one
that
more,
plus
bud. That
one really
math.
that plus one really throws you
It's
off, huh?
tough. Yeah, it's
My
tough.
gosh.
But you get what I'm saying.
And yes, I do. I yeah, the NFL exactly what they needed, more parity. Yeah, I'm excited for it in general because obviously as a fan, it's no skin off my butt. I mean, the 17th game, cool, but some of the teams were I think got a particularly harder schedule. And I wrote down just a couple of the matchups that struck me as good and bad. Um, the Buccaneers are going to be playing the Colts. That sucks for the Colts. I mean, the Colts are in a really competitive division now with the Jags. Who knows? Maybe Trevor Lawrence has like a great, a better than average season. But that was looking to be, and it still kind of is, the Colts' division, even though they didn't. I don't even think they won it last year. The Titans won it. So the Titans, actually, I didn't write down who they were playing, but I think it was like a ho hum team. But the Eagles play the Jets. Talk about, I mean, I know the Eagles weren't great last year. I mean, nobody in the NFC East even had a winning record. I don't think. But the Eagles playing the Jets is a huge win for them. Pittsburgh has to play the Seahawks. That's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. It's
Yeah,
not. I wouldn't say that's a very welcome game. I think the Panthers got a nice little game with the Texans. That they're probably going to draft a rookie QB playing a sorry Texans team with a brand new head coach and basically a brand new team, and all the Deshaun Watson stuff. Which who knows how that's all going to play out. And then the last game I called out. I know I didn't mention the Packers Chiefs, which is going to be awesome, but I, that's a coin flip in my mind right now. But Cincinnati has to play the 49ers. And
I
I'll tell
know.
you what, the 49ers, as we'll get into with some of the draft coverage, I think the 49ers are going to be a good team for not only this next year, for the next couple of years.
I think you're right about that. And I was very unfortunate to hear that news that was going to be their matchup because like if you look at every year, like one team, like any team that substantially improves year over year, the Niners seem like they're going to be that this year because they had massive injuries last season. You know, they've got a pretty good draft spot now. Like I feel like they're going to be tough. So
Yeah.
that's definitely a bummer. The only thing I'd say about this week 17 thing is, and this is something I kind of realized but never really remembered. Um, the regular season and career records now might be significantly impacted. Now that there's an extra regular season game, so like the single season record for touchdown passes and yards. Now that there's a whole nother game, I think that could be impacted. Just like it was impacted when they moved from 14 games to 16 games. All those records just got completely obliterated. And now everyone, like the top 20 of everything, doesn't even have those players in there that played in that era. Because there's just more games, so it adds
Andrew,
up over the career.
Drew, go
Okay,
ahead.
so you're 15-0. The last two games, you've already clinched. You're good. The last two games, they don't matter to you. Why play Tom Brady in those last two games? Give him 2 weeks of rest.
That's assuming that you have that record and that luxury. But we just talked about that extra parity. You probably have another loss that you might not have had earlier in the season. Maybe you might rest some folks, but you still have a whole other. If you're really competitive, and let's just say you're fighting for a playoff spot, and you have a really good quarterback, and you've got 5,000 yards already passing. Maybe you have another 400-yard game, and you break the single season record now, where you wouldn't have done that before with the 16 game format.
So, in Andrew's scenario, do you think that they should? Oh, Tom Brady, he sat the last two games because they didn't really need to play. But if he did play, let's just take those two games, find his average, and tack on some stats, and that's his. Those are his stats for the year. Do you think we should just do that since he didn't finish the season, but he might as well. Stats don't
Oh,
matter, Scotty. The game changes all the time.
records matter.
Records
Especially
don't. No, no. I mean,
records matter a little bit.
records matter for making your case for the Hall of Fame, for first ballot Hall of Famers, but
Right.
nothing else matters. I mean, Scotty, the game has changed so much just in the last 20 years. I mean, the passing in general has blown up. I mean, uh, you have all these quarterbacks that are in the Hall of Fame now. If you go pull up Aikman's numbers, Bradshaw's numbers, Montana's numbers, all these guys, they don't have anything close to any quarterback. Even someone like the so I'm not going to do it now. Maybe I'll do this for the next time. I could look up some quarterbacks that have decent careers. Andy Dalton, let's say has a little decent career going on, right? He's actually going to continue. I could look up Andy Dalton stats, and I bet you we would find a Hall of Famer from back in the day that his stats are match. But Andy Dalton's not a Hall of Famer. Not right now. I'll leave out who
Very
knows with
generous.
the Bears? Who knows with the Bears?
Hey man.
Chi-town. But that's what I'm saying. So the game has just changed so much that sometimes the game changes. What I guess my only point is that adding the 17th game, it does not worry me whatsoever about I'm more worried about the player's health than, oh no, how is this going to impact the all-time passing leader stats?
It's
Yeah, I'm not.
it's also
I'm,
not like it's not like they went from 16 games to 20 games or 22 games. Like then it's like, oh wow, you have half of a whole nother regular season to pad stats. But like, it's one game. I mean, you're not gonna go out there and break a record by 1 yard or something like that just because you
Yeah.
got the next game. You're gonna blow it out by like 50 yards, 100 yards, 200 yards. So
Yeah, and I'll also say that people already complain about certain people on those leaderboards just being compilers. People say Drew Brees is just a compiler. I mean, he's only won one thing in his life. I think he's had a couple MVPs. Hey, I love Drew Brees. I'm not getting on Drew Brees. Frank Gore. He's just been playing for 20 years. Running backs don't play for 20 years anymore. He's a compiler. I don't believe that. I'm just telling people say that. So you already have people in these top leaderboards, all-time leaderboards, that, like, are they there because they were actually good, or are they just good enough to stick around for a long time and just
it's
compile?
the NFL. If you're there that long and you compile those
No,
numbers, you're doing it because you're good. You're not just like, oh,
I hear what you're saying, but there are players in the NFL that might not be starter worthy, but they're on teams because they represent veteran leadership for perhaps just like I just mentioned Frank Gore,
okay,
just Frank Gore on the Jets. He might not. He's obviously not one of the top 32 running backs in the league. Okay, he's not a starter, but
not
he's
right
on a
now.
team because he's good enough, and he has intangible value, which is why he's stuck around. It's the same thing's going to happen with Adrian Peterson. He's going to be around way longer than we're going to be like, wow, Adrian Peterson's still playing? Like, what? We're already doing that. I mean, he's a little bit
Yeah,
of a good
and
story
and
because he actually
they're
had some single seasons that were just out of this world, but
they did, but Frank Gore will be a Hall of Famer without a
and
doubt.
as he should be. But we're talking about the all-time leaderboard on these stats. You brought it up.
Yeah,
So I'm just saying there's even a case to be made for the guys that are on there that maybe they shouldn't be, whether, let alone people that might now crack the top 10 because they added an extra game. So I'm just saying, like, those all-time leaderboards, like, there's always a little bit of there's story within the lines there
we
that
have those leaderboards for a reason. You know who these people are for a reason because it's important. People hold that to some high regard. At the end of the does that warrant us not making this move to 17 games? Of course not. You still do it. I'm not saying that like, oh, we count. I'm not even remotely presenting that case at all. I think it's a good move to move to 17 games. I'm just saying this is a kind of an unintended impact and consequence that I don't think a lot of people think about until it actually happens. And then before you know it, we're talking 10 years from now about like, oh wow, Patrick Mahomes is clearly better than Peyton Manning because look at his regular season stats. He's broken records and he's broken like people
uh,
will say that. They will absolutely say
no,
that. It might not be
no,
us,
no,
but
no.
people will.
No, because okay, if you like go and switch to like a sport like baseball where they have the DH role and people just like who are fading in their career, they don't play anymore, but they go out and they DH. Do you consider them padding their stats to the point where they need to be like regarded as the best hitters of all time just because for the last 10
Andrew,
years they've been DHing?
baseball,
one at a time.
baseball holds those records into the highest regard. Are you kidding me? Like they are the baseball fanatics are the ones who put that the all-time home run leader, getting 600 home runs, getting 3,000 hits. Those milestones what puts you in the Hall of Fame. So hell yes, people are out there trying to pad their stats at the end of their career, trying to hit a few more dingers so they can get into the 250 club or whatever. That's happening. That is 100% happening in
Okay, okay,
baseball.
okay,
So
okay. I'm gonna say one more thing about the NFL, this whole leaderboard crap I'm just gonna float it out there. You can respond to it if you want, but I don't think you'll need to. Scotty, we don't need to worry about anybody going, oh, Patrick Mahomes, look at his numbers compared to Peyton Manning. Obviously, he's better because at the end of the day, there's always more stats to look at, and per game averages, and per like all of those things will balance it out. I mean, those you can't fudge with just an extra game. Fair?
yeah, absolutely. Those are more
If you're
complicated.
actually worried about, oh, this person rushed for the most yards, they've got 50 more than Emmett Smith,
That would
whatever.
be a huge record to break. Emmett Smith has. I mean, it would. It would, especially in today's game.
That's fine. Whatever.
Next
I can't.
topic, please.
Thank you. Okay, still sticking with the NFL. Oh, what a great time of year it is for the NFL. No games are happening. All we have is conjecture and NFL draft talk. Pro days just happened last week, boys. I guess just happened last week. Uh, but what I love about this time of year and the pro days specifically, I like the combine. They didn't have it this year for obvious reasons. But guys come out of the woodwork and college players' names become things. This is where their NFL lore begins. It's a beautiful thing. It can also be a really ugly thing. One of the things I want to mention first off, and obviously whenever you're talking NFL draft, quarterbacks are like the I don't know, it's the number one topic, and that's no different here. Justin Fields, I'm putting it out there right now, is absolutely the second best quarterback in the draft, maybe the first best quarterback in the draft. And all of what I find hilarious about what's happening this year specifically is for about 2 years now, 2 actual calendar years, we've been talking about Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields being 1 and 2. Where the hell did all these other white quarterbacks come from? This BYU clown and Mac Jones? Is his first name actually just MAC? Is it Mackenzie Jones? I mean, I don't even know this guy. I know obviously he played at Alabama. He's not like a nobody, but you're talking about Justin Fields now dropping to like the bottom of the top 10. What? Like, let's not kid ourselves. There's another fun thing about this time of year is there's so much smoke. Teams are always playing politics with each other. It's awesome. And you have things like I don't think we broke it down, but there, I don't know, it was a week and a half ago. It was just less than a week ago, where the 49ers and the Dolphins had a huge blockbuster multi-year implication trade for the 49ers to go up to the third spot behind the Jets. You don't do that kind of a move and give away what they gave, which was this year's first, next year's first, and some change. And not change like it's insignificant, but like I just can't remember.
2023, there's three total first round picks. So next
a
year
swap
and the year
and then
after.
2 additional. Okay, gotcha.
Right.
But you don't do that if you're not targeting a quarterback. So
Right.
now all eyes are on Jimmy G and which quarterback the Jets are going to take, because Trevor Lawrence is consensus number one. Although, wouldn't it be just great if Urban shocked the world, probably gets fired, next year because of it, but took Justin Fields over Trevor? I would love that. It would throw I mean, Jets fans could not be happier, right? But anyway, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. The interesting thing about the trade and all of this smoke about, and maybe it's not smoke. I just, what do I know? But maybe people actually like, oh my gosh, I don't even know his name. Not Mac Jones, but the BYU kid.
It's Zach Wilson.
Wow, Zach Wilson. Thank you. And I remember Trey Lance from North Dakota State. He's also slid up in there. Is this big five quarterbacks now. And and you see all these mock drafts. I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling here, but you see all these mock drafts. I'm worked up about it. You see all these mock drafts with, oh, there's going to be 4 quarterbacks taken in a row. I don't know if that's ever happened before. I mean,
I don't think
in a row, 4 in a row, and then only because the Bengals are there, everybody's like, Bengals aren't going to take a quarterback because they have one, but then with the 6th pick being a quarterback, it's nuts right now. It's a crazy time of year, and I just think it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious that some of these guys float up to the top for no reason other than some teams are getting scared or you just want to create some buzz. Do you have it, Scotty? I'll pass it to you now. I'll officially hand the baton. Here you go. Do you have any thoughts on pro days in general, any of the specific players? Because I've got more on this, obviously. But what are your thoughts on all this stuff?
I've got a few thoughts. Okay, so first off, selfishly, as a Bengals fan, I am absolutely loving the fact that everyone in front of the Bengals is projected to take quarterback, which, I mean, it's the best case scenario. Okay.
Real quick, that is not the best case scenario, Scotty. As a Bengals fan, you want to have no say in the matter. So he was the best player available. I had no choice but to take him. It was clear cut and obvious. But now you're going to have the top wide receiver, you'll have the top lineman, you'll have the top everything else other than quarterback to choose from. And one of those guys, hold on a second. I know you're saying this is not a bad position to be in, but it is a
that.
bad. Hold on, it is a bad position because we're talking bust city now. If you take this LSU wide receiver to match up with Burrow, well, I'm not even saying that would be a bad choice. I'm not even saying as a fan I wouldn't want that because I might. But the best edge rusher, the best O line. This is talking like
They
it's the
need
top five
linemen.
picks.
They
It's a
need
top five pick.
linemen though.
We're talking about like potential Hall of Famers in a top five pick here. You can't mess
Yes,
that up.
you can't mess it up. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. I would as a fan, much rather be in this position where my team last year got the best quarterback and overall player in the draft. Okay, and now this year is in a position to choose the best non-quarterback player in the draft. That's two best player, two potential Hall of Fame picks 2 years in a row. And I would much rather be in that position than be a freaking New York Jets fan or a 49ers fan who are making these moves and looking for a quarterback and and getting like Zach Wilson. Like I'm not excited. I wouldn't be excited about that if I was a Jets fan. I would want Trevor Lawrence, maybe. I'd be pumped about that. But I would hate that as a fan that your team is trying to move up or whatever to get like the second or third best quarterback in the draft when all those other players are available. So having that need filled and having the opportunity to select whoever you want on top of that is a great position to be in. And as a fan, I'm very excited about it. Is there pressure? Yeah, there's pressure. You can't get this wrong. But you at least have the opportunity to make that choice. Meanwhile, if you're down like in 15 or 16, you got to just take whatever's given to you. And that's also where Bust City is too. Bust City is everywhere, man. There's always busts in the first round at every level of every position. So you can't predict that. So but that's but I would like to go on to a little bit few other things here. So I also completely agree that Justin Fields is getting a raw deal in this evaluation process. He he ran the fastest 40 like in quarterback history. I think Robert Griffin III was the only other quarterback that has run that fast of a 40-yard dash, which is amazing in itself. I also think that Justin Fields is built a little bit differently than Robert Griffin III, aka he's not made of porcelain, so he's not going to get injured and he's going to have a really successful career, I think. And I think that he will be the best quarterback from this draft. Now, I'm not even saying that, as a bias, Ohio State, whatever. I'm saying that because if you look traditionally, those quarterbacks, the quarterbacks that become really, really good, other than like the number one pick, Peyton Manning, Joe Burrows of the world, it's those guys that get picked like, Patrick Mahomes, like at 8, and he wasn't the best quarterback evaluated at that time. Like, people are kind of like ho hum on him. I think he's gonna be the best one. And if a team like if he does end up dropping and a team like Carolina is able to get him in pick 7 or wherever, they are going to be light years better than the competition because of that, I think. Meanwhile, you got all right, go ahead. Who
Oh
wants
no
to
no
chime in?
sorry. I was just the finger went up as like a hey I want to but you don't I didn't want me to cut you off.
All right. Well, I think so. I think Fields is going to be really good. Okay. Uh, and I think that all those other teams, particularly the 49ers, trading up to 3 to get a quarterback, that is so risky. You have basically mortgaged your future the next 3 years for uh, 2 first round picks. Now you will not have to get the third best player in this draft and probably the third best quarterback that's picked. Maybe not best, but you that level of assurance for the 49ers that that person's going to be there seems wild to me. Like how do you know that unless you're just good with all 3 and whatever the third one is, you'll just take them. Like that doesn't seem like a good way to plan your organization's future in my opinion. So I like the 40 like we were just talking about the 49ers. I like the 49ers, chances of improvement next season, but I think this is a huge gamble and if they pick the wrong one, they're really screwed. Way more than if the Bengals pick the wrong person and pick number 5. All right, those are my thoughts. Go ahead.
Wow, what tasty thoughts you have. Andrew, you have anything?
Well, I do really enjoy pro days and like I mean I'm a big rookie like NFL fantasy drafter. I love drafting rookies and stuff like that. So this is like when I start to actually get into football season. Um I I am kind of surprised that Justin Fields dropped a little bit in like the rankings ahead of time, but as a Justin Fields like fan, I'm kind of okay with that. I would rather see him go somewhere like Carolina and be able to do something right out of the gate because then I could draft him in fantasy and he's going to do good for me because he got on one of those, like, medium teams that, went and got like 6, 7 wins last season without having like a really good quarterback or something like that. And then he comes in and he does very well for like that's the kind of
Mhm.
stuff that I want to see happen. So I'm totally okay with him dropping ranks right now. Like honestly, so okay with it.
And as an Ohio State family, whichever team he goes to, that's the first. I mean, he's getting picked high in the draft,
Oh yeah.
and probably by Andrew. I just in thinking about Justin Fields, I know this has become a Justin Fields conversation, and I'm okay with it. But in thinking about where I would like him to go, and I also want to put it out there, all you clowns out there that are saying that he's just Dwayne Haskins 2.0 could not be could not be more wrong. You don't watch football. I think that Justin Fields will be better than Lamar Jackson. Now, I don't know that he'll win the MVP. I don't know if he'll put up those numbers in one season, but he's as athletic as Lamar Jackson and is a better thrower than Lamar Jackson. So I would love to see him go to pretty much any other team than the Jets, but the 49ers would be so great. And if not the 49ers, if for some reason he makes it to 4, Atlanta, just do it. Don't even think about it. Just do it. He'll
Atlanta makes so much sense.
right? He's from
That makes so
Georgia.
much sense.
Oh,
Yeah. He's the
Hometown
hometown
hero at
hero.
that point, yeah.
that's
Oh,
exactly right. So, hey, Matty Ice, love you, buddy, but like, you can go play in Denver for this season. I mean, you'll be fine out in Denver.
he'd be good in Denver.
There's some weather concerns, but yeah, he looks like a Denver quarterback. That's fine.
Where's
You can
Denver
go play.
picking in the draft?
They're 8 or 9.
Are they?
So I mean, they're in play for a quarterback too. I think I've seen Trey Lance fall there. I've seen some mocks that have Denver moving back. Um, I've also seen ones with Denver taking one of the two top tackles in the draft. But yeah, they're mock drafts. Nobody knows anything. You got to be in the day of.
I
So
think
many things happen.
Denver, in my opinion, would be the second worst place for Justin Fields to go, next to New York. I would not want him to go there. I
You
would
do
want him.
you're doing that based on coaching staff, right?
I am,
I don't
and
blame you.
just in the organization in general.
Now, in terms of weapons, I mean, Denver's got some weapons. I mean, they've
Yeah,
got a good young wide receiving core, a good tight end, and their defense isn't garbage. But yeah, I just don't think anybody believes in that coaching staff. But the Jets have a brand new coaching staff too. I know it's the Jets, and they still got some of the stink that a lot of bad teams would have. But as a young player, I would not be excited necessarily to go play for the Jets. But who knows? I guess we should leave some room for teams. The Browns are obviously better than they were 3 years ago. The Bengals are going to be better than they were 3 years ago. Whatever. You never know with these things. But but yeah, Vic Fangio. That's the thing. He's still there. I don't know how. Why didn't they get a
I
new coach? They didn't do much last year. Maybe he just is a good fit with the front office. I don't know. We have some insiders who maybe should ask.
That's true.
But
We should. Maybe they
um,
got some rumors of Top Golf today or something.
one other thing, just the non-quarterbacks. Have you? I guess I'll throw this out to you guys after I mention one player that I've been thinking about. Did anybody that's catching buzz, now in the last couple days, the last week, catch your eye specifically? One of the guys that I don't know if I believe in it necessarily, but it's this Rousseau guy from Miami, this edge rusher, Greg Rousseau. He's supposed to go in like the 20s in the draft, but he sat out last year from COVID, and he posted like 15 and a half sacks his last year that he played for Miami. He's supposed to be great, and he's right in the Browns range. So I'd be happy with a lot of players. Picking 26, it's not whatever. It's just fill the needs that you have. But did any other players stand out to you before we move on to something else?
For me, and I know this might not be super controversial, crazy, because he was supposed to be one of the top players to be drafted this year and rated very highly. But after seeing pro day and seeing his performance and all of the raves and reviews, as a Bengals fan, picking the best player that you possibly could pick, at number 5, I really want Kyle Pitts from the tight end from Florida. I feel like what he can bring to the game I mean, he'll be like Travis Kelce on steroids potentially. He could be just as good as Travis Kelce, and having him as just an absolute matchup nightmare with Tyler Boyd and T Higgins with Joe Mixon in the backfield. Look out, Bengals offense. I was like, before I was all in for the best tackle in the game, drafting that person, whoever that might be, because obviously we need to protect Joe Burrow, and they signed Riley Reef, which I think is a good signing. He'll play he's a huge upgrade in right tackle, and then Jonah Williams on the other side. So I would not be upset if they drafted Pitts and then took a guard or a center, high in the second round. So, but that guy, he looks so impressive. He looks so, whatever team drafts him, he's gonna be a fantasy football machine, and I think that he's gonna make any team that he's on better personally. So that's my pick.
The raves and reviews.
That's right, raves and reviews, because
Live
that's a
streaming
rave.
on raves.
A rave isn't necessarily a review. You could rave about something, but not really review it.
I got 2 words for you, Scotty. David Njoku. Just will let that one stew with you, buddy.
All right, but what if David Njoku could actually catch the ball? He would be one of the best tight ends, right? This guy can catch the ball.
We're talking about buzz going into the draft, and guess what? Both were a buzzin'. I'm just saying.
He wasn't drafted till like pick 20 or 25.
I know,
right?
and people had no idea why. The Browns traded up to get him. Yeah.
Now we know why.
All I'm saying, Scotty, if Joe Burrow is as good as you think he is, and as good as I think he is, I think he's good. Guess what? He does not need another pass catcher. You need to protect the man.
He needs linemen.
You need to protect him.
And
We need linemen. We need linemen.
You are having the curtain pulled over your eyes if you're thinking that you should draft anything other than the best lineman in the draft, even if it's an interior lineman, however you're grading a lineman. That's what you need. That is your biggest team need. You got to protect the franchise. Oh, if Joe Burrow's as good as you say he'll dump it off to whoever the hell. Who cares?
Look,
a tight end is not. Hold on a second. A tight end is not going to take Joe Burrow to the next level. It's not. He might be. Pitts might be a crazy matchup. He might be a fantastic player, great fantasy, all this stuff. But you got to protect the franchise.
I understand, and I would not be upset. I would not be upset if they drafted the best tackle in the draft. That would also be, totally good. I'd be very happy as a fan. But also now, after seeing some of this stuff, if they drafted him, I'm going to be just as excited.
You know what's going to happen? That's fine. You're a fan. You can do whatever you want. We know what's going to happen, though. In classic Bengals fashion, they're going to draft a wide receiver and not the wide receiver that Burrow wants them to draft.
That would be
they're going to take the Heisman winner. They'll take Devontae Smith, not what's his name, Lamar Chase.
Lamar Chase.
Yeah. Oh, his buddy, his tiger.
That is the most Bengals thing in the world. It's going to be John Ross III all over again. Thank God there's not a combine. If there was a combine, they probably would be like, "Oh my God, he ran a 5.4 240." Like, oh,
5 240.
That's super slow.
I get it. Drew, did any players jump out to you? Or are you ready to move on?
I mean, I am ready to move on mainly because I know we have a lot more to get into. But like as far as the Packers go, like their biggest needs right now are just defensive players. So just give me any good defensive players later in the draft, and I'm set.
That spoken like the team, like the fan of a winner. Yeah, Andrew, you have no idea what it's like to suffer.
Let's get a safety.
Yeah. Like early when Scotty was talking, I was sitting here thinking I wanted to make the comment so bad. Like I would just rather not be in the spot where you have a high draft pick 2 years in a row to get the best quarterback and the best next year.
Yep.
Yeah. It's all right. The Colts were the laughing stock of the league before Peyton Manning joined, and now look at them. So, who day? Let's move on.
So strange. Yes, please.
Baseball.
All right.
Let's go. Baseball.
The 2021 baseball season kicked off yesterday. I did not watch any games. I don't even have a team yet. I'm working on it. Okay, I'm working on it. I'm focused on hockey right now. It's hockey season. We're in the thick of it. and my Minnesota Wild are crushing it once again. So, but that is not what we're talking about. Because I've just showcased to the world and our viewer that I am not a baseball expert. I'm going to toss it over to you guys for really a couple of things. What are you excited for this season? What are some good stories? I've read like power rankings. I've gone through like what teams have what, but you guys can be the experts here. Tell me what I should know as this baseball season kicks off.
What I'm excited for is we're back to normal, baby. Last season in baseball, it was definitely like a good moment when baseball came back because they were the first major sports organization to resume after COVID shut everything down and everything like that. But let's be honest, last season sucked. Like it was really really bad. You played AL and NL within this it was the East, the Battle of the East, and like that's only the only teams that you played. It was a lopsided and terrible postseason format because of that regular season structure. I'm done with it. I don't even remember who won the World Series. I don't even care. It didn't count.
Get out of here. Get
I
out of here with
seriously
that. I don't
I
remember who won the World Series.
I
Get out
honestly
of
don't. You could have told me the Dodgers. You could have told me maybe it was like the Astros
Who
or
did win?
something, whatever.
It was the Dodgers.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. Who won? No one even knows or remembers, and it doesn't
That's
matter.
bull.
It doesn't even
Bullish
matter.
bullish comment of you.
Now, now
He's
they
saying
actually
that
have.
because his team sucked last year and bombed out.
Well, but we sucked. We sucked because of all the things that were happening. It wasn't a real season. That
The
whole that
the worst
that
part
season's gonna go down. That season's gonna go down with little asterisks saying, "Hey, yeah, they didn't play a full 162 games, and the playoffs were all messed up on who got to go in. The NL Central sent four teams to the playoffs. They all lost in a 3-game series. Are you kidding me? So none of that should matter. The best teams weren't even in the
this just
playoffs
sounds
last
like
year.
crybaby moments
Does
here.
that mean does this mean that the last like with the Astros and everything, the last 3 or 4 seasons are all going to have an asterisk next to it?
Well, potentially. I was really excited. Getting back to the main story here. Okay, so this is the first. Like we're back to normal.
The main
100,
story.
162 games. It's a legit season now. We're the Phillies are ready to go. They're gonna play really well because as they were hitting their stride last season, the season was over because it wasn't a full season, right? So all that. Now also because there's fans now in the stadiums. Thank the Lord, we got some people back in. The Astros are finally getting their comeuppance and they're getting the boos all the time now. They got that yesterday, which is great. So now they're actually going to pay the public price for their horrible scandal, a few seasons ago that's come out because they got a year-long pass of no one
There's
talking about
already
how
Twitter accounts dedicated to the Astros walk of shame. It's pretty
exactly.
Do you
great.
actually think they give a rip about any of that?
I
I mean,
mean,
They
seriously.
should.
Do you
they
think
They
that
should.
actually? Hold on a second. They should. Okay, fine. You can take like the where's your honor and all that stuff. Do you actually think that they're like, oh, we're getting booze? Like, oh, how am I supposed to go up to the plate and come on? We're
Hey,
professional athletes.
ask
We're the
ask Johnny
ones.
Cueto. Ask Johnny Cueto what the boo birds are like.
That's a ridiculous thing to say.
okay,
That's
regardless.
accurate.
I get what
The
Scott's
boo
talking about.
birds.
The beautiful part about this season compared to last season is that each game is back to normal and not like if you lose one game it's like losing 5. That kind of stuff actually sucked. So I get that because as we've talked about before on this show, every game matters. And I will hold that to my grave.
I
But
wasn't gonna go there, but
regardless, the question was, what are we excited about? What are the big storylines, stuff like that? Um, I'm obviously excited about the Dodgers. We have a great rotation. We have a lot of good position players. So yeah, you know yeah,
He
it's great.
he is
keep
he's
it
bought in
rolling. It's an
ownership of the
audio
team.
medium. Let's keep
I'm
it
sorry,
cranking,
you
buddy.
distracted me. But anyway, the thing that sucked the most about yesterday was the weirdest opening day play that we've seen in a long, long time, where Bellinger hits essentially a home run. It was caught and bobbed out of the person's hand over the fence, but he passed on the base paths Justin Turner because Justin Turner thought that the ball was in the glove, so he turned around because he did not tag up and he was trying to run back to first. They called Cody Bellinger out, and Justin Turner got to score 1 run. It was the weirdest play, but I understand it kind of after like watching a whole bunch of things and reading a whole bunch about it. But either way, they lost the game, and I'm super irritated. I'm not going to say that it was because of that. They lost like 8-5. But the pitching was garbage yesterday, and it was not fun. So all around bad opening day for me.
Is this going to be is this going to be how this whole thing goes? Is whenever we talk baseball, because you every game matters, truthers are going to get all worked up in the minutia of one game, and I'm just going to be sitting here rolling my eyes the whole time because I'm like, it's one game. They're the best. They have the best roster in the whole league, according to my sources. So you were actually going to be like, I know you're not like devastated, but according to last time we talked about it, you would be devastated. I mean,
yeah,
come
it
on,
was very
guys.
frustrating. I don't like
No,
losing
Kevin.
games.
One game.
Kevin, you have to understand when you're a diehard fan of a team, you feel that loss just as
Not in.
strongly.
I mean, I'm not saying you don't feel
The
it.
players feel that loss too. They feel that loss. That affects them.
Oh yeah.
It does.
Yeah, baseball players are extremely streaky.
Do you mind texting me Harper and just getting his take on it real quick, since I know you guys are buds and communicate all the time about this? You know how he feels. Come on, Scott.
It's true. When you're playing well, and maybe you won two games out of the 3-game series, and you're in that game 3, and you lose a game that you should have won because of a mistake or whatever, that affects the entire team. That whole bus ride home. It does. It absolutely does. And no one's like, well, hey, we're playing 162 games. That was just one, so back at it tomorrow. I mean, sure, they're going to be like that, but they're going to feel that loss. It's not. It's going to be consequential. And at the end of the season, guess what? If the Dodgers miss the playoffs by one game, or maybe they're seeding in the playoffs, or maybe have to fight for a wild card now because of one game, we'll look back to this moment and be like, hey, that was kind of a,
You
it's
could
kind of
have
a big
just
deal.
answered yes. This is how it's going to go, and then we would have been fine.
I'm not going to necessarily say that this is how it's going to go, but I think that when you're talking baseball, one of the best parts about talking about baseball is complaining about little things. It's great. I love it. I love being like, man, Verlander just couldn't find his slider today. That sucked. And like he got hit all over the place because he couldn't throw the slider like as well as he normally does. You know what I mean? But baseball is an extremely streaky sport. Players get on, tears where 3, 4, 5 game streaks, they're just like batting 600, 500, and they're just doing insanely well. And then like the next 2 weeks they go on huge slumps where all of a sudden it's like, why are you even starting this guy right now? So I don't know. Baseball I think is weird where it's easy for players to get in their own heads. And like with all the routines and rituals that they have, I mean, they're so superstitious that it's like if their hat's on just slightly wrong, like they feel like, oh, that was why I lost this game. So it just kind of goes with baseball, I would say.
With pitchers, I'm with you, because if you think about, I mean, how many games does a starting pitcher start? What, like in the course of a season, 12 ish?
It's like
I mean,
like close to 30 to 32, I would say.
Yeah, 30, 32.
okay. Well, so if in the season of a pitcher, they're playing about they're playing many fewer games. So I can get you there. I can see you there because it's something that's easier to digest. Whereas, like, okay, if you have a batter, a second baseman that has a great April, a bad May, a great June, and then a terrible rest of the season, was he hot, or is he just not good? Like when is he good when he's bad, or is he bad when he's good? What's the reality here? You have too many. There's too big of a sample size. It's impossible to evaluate as a fan.
It's actually very
Well,
easy to evaluate.
you're
That's why
not
we
a
have the
fan
Okay,
of
schedule.
any
I
team
guess
yet.
what I'm saying is, okay, let's say you have an outfielder and he just goes for a month. He's just knocking dingers back. He's scoring all kinds of runs,
Seeing the ball well that month.
seeing the ball very well. Okay,
That's right.
but the rest of the year he's average to below average, maybe even below average. what do you take away from that?
That
Is he good? Are you excited about him the next year?
no,
Are you like,
well,
well, we saw because he showed a flash, but through the course of, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could tell yourself anything.
the coaches and scouts and all the people that are with the team day in and day out, they've been around enough to know when someone is playing above their potential, and they're having like a tear of a streak, or this is just how they are. It's more than just the home runs that they hit or the base hits. It's about how they're seeing the ball, how they're swinging, how they're feeling in batting practice, the angle of their bat. Like that. There's all those factors that they analyze way more than the lay people like we are do to determine who's really good and skilled and quality and who's not. Who could be coached, who could be
I
improved,
get how
who
scouting
can't be.
works.
Well,
But
seems
the
like you don't,
biggest
because you wouldn't have mentioned it then.
No,
No, the biggest thing in baseball though is consistency. And you get the most excited about players who are going to stay consistent, because in like the case that you're talking about, it could just be a guy who's filling in for somebody who got hurt, who got called up from the minors, and he has like an insanely good month. But as soon as that other dude's healthy, he's coming back and replacing that guy instantly. He's going back to AAA because they know that like he's not going to have the same potential because he essentially got lucky for a month. Like,
Look at pinch hitters in the National League, for example. Those guys, you're putting them in at critical spots to pinch hit, and you're hoping that they do well. But those guys aren't a part of the starting lineup that day. You know what I mean? Like they're not good enough to play every day. But at a pinch, hey, we're gonna put this guy in. So like there's different skills and abilities that make a player good.
this all started because we're talking about opening day and the Dodgers lost a game, and you two were making the case that one bad game can send a player to a freaking death spiral apparently. And what I'm telling you is, if that's
Kershaw's
the case,
confidence is going to be destroyed right now. I mean, he had a 7 ERA on opening day.
I didn't hear what you said. You're gonna have to say
sorry. Okay, Kershaw's confidence is going to be destroyed though right now. He had a 7 ERA on opening day. That's
they
not
just
a
won
great
the World Series. He's
that
the best pitcher in baseball. Who cares? You're telling me this professional athlete can't get over one bad game? I can't believe I could. Okay, if a batter, because pitchers I'm already saying are a little bit different. Even though I believe Kershaw can bounce back from one bad game, he's had several in the postseason, and he's still whatever. But I can see a batter getting really shaken if he has a terrible 14-day stretch, or he's just nothing's going right for him. I could see that 14 days extending into another week or another 2 weeks or something like that. But one game, we're talking about the one game sample size here. That's
but
how
they've
this all started.
already been playing for a month. They're supposed to be warmed up by now. They've been doing spring training.
We just talked about NFL preseason doesn't matter and people don't need it. That baseball needs that. You're telling me that
I'm saying that
4 months that baseball players don't play baseball, they totally lose everything.
I'm saying that just
They actually do.
because
That's true. They do.
I'm saying that just because they lost
Seriously.
yesterday, that one player might be on a 14-day bad streak because he's been playing for the last 14 days.
Yes, but it takes the 13 days to determine if they're going to be on a 14-day bad streak. It doesn't take the one. Yesterday's bad game does not mean that we should be worried about tomorrow. That's my only point, because it's one game. The last 10 games gives us a reason to be worried about the next 7. That's what I'm saying. That's my only point. I'm not saying people don't get streaky. I'm not saying baseball is a crappy sport. I love you guys. I love the world. I love baseball. I might even watch a couple games this afternoon.
You might watch a game.
I may turn one on. I might flip one on. Yeah, in between all my other reality TV shows. That's all I'm saying. Is that one game we shouldn't be concerned. As a fan, your team, you want them to win. You take it to heart. I get it. Like,
you know what it is, Drew? It's because he hasn't picked a team yet.
Yeah, it really is.
If he picks a team, it's all going to be different now.
If
he'll understand what it's like.
Okay, if he committed to like the Padres today and just decided I'm going to follow the Padres exclusively and just for this season, not care about any other team except for the Padres, he will start to realize how much it sucks when you do lose like 3-4 games in a row and you're feeling bad because you're like,
but you haven't lost 3 or 4 games in a row yet. That's my point.
Drew, this is what he'll understand once he actually follows a team and he understands all the nuances of the game and really like the nuances of a team and in a specific team following that team, what their actions are, what a manager does, in a game, and he actually you'll come into situations where it'll be May 16th, and it's going to be a Friday night or whatever it is, and the manager's going to put in this reliever that is going to give up 2 runs, and guess what? That reliever gives up 2 runs. You're like, what the hell? We lost the game because of this, and that's going to impact your entire season. You get pissed because of that.
Kevin not picking a team is like if he looked at the lineup card one day and saw Tatis not in the game, he'd be like, why aren't they starting that guy? Meanwhile, like he might be slumping for the last like 3-4 days or something like that, and they just need to give him some rest because he tweaked some part of his leg or some garbage like that.
You guys are talking to the Browns fan. Like, I don't know how to be
sport.
worried. I don't know how to be worried about a losing streak. Okay,
Different
give me a
sport.
freaking break.
Different
here.
sport.
I understand the nuances of sports. Okay, I don't need that explained to me.
You actually kind of need this explained.
Let me throw this out there. I've been watching almost every single Wild game that they've had this season, and they lose a game. They lost a game the other night to the. No, that's not a good look. I forgot. I think it was the Knights. Let's just say it was the
So
Knights.
you're cool with them being in third place right
sport.
now, right?
Well, no, I want them to be in first place, but I'm just saying they lost a game. It's the first game they've lost in, I don't know, 7 games. I would have liked to win, but I'm not devastated. My night wasn't ruined. I'm like, oh, that sucks, but I got over it. I'm not thinking about like, what's going on with Fiala's wrist shot? Like, come on, man.
It's a different sport, completely different sport.
Well, no shit, Scotty.
The thing I would say is similar though is that it's all about like your division standings and stuff like that. So like, yeah, they might have lost 1 game or something like that, but they're still in third place right now. They're not winning the division right now.
It all started because we're talking about opening day. That's the only game of baseball that's been played. It's 1 game.
No, they're playing today. That's the beauty of it is they play all the time. So like it matters every day. You check every day.
All right, well, that was today's episode. Hope everybody enjoyed it. What a mess. Guys, this is great. It's good stuff. But I just can't believe that this is going to be a thing.
You need to pick a baseball team so you can understand the sport better and you can follow it like a true fan, not someone who just
I am actually working on it.
Okay, good. We're excited to hear it.
Okay, so I guess, are we going to do top 3 now? Are we done?
Yeah, we should do that.
Okay.
We should do that.
So I guess I can start, and then we can end with like Kevin's top 3 or something. I
love that, Andrew. I love that.
Okay. So I'll go with Scotty. Scotty, I want your top 3 Mexican dishes.
Mexican dishes. All right. Well, I like enchiladas. Chicken enchiladas, not beef. Green sauce. I'm gonna go with tacos, of course. Traditional tacos. Ground beef. Ground beef, lettuce, a little bit of cheese, and then that Ortega taco sauce on the top. That's some good stuff. And then number 1. Well, this isn't number 1, but the third one is very underrated, almost always skipped on a menu. Is churros, man. Churros are good.
No debate there.
All right. So I'm asking. I'm asking Kevin.
You ask Kevin. This is great. Beautiful ironed out system.
It's the system. It's the multiple game seasons. I don't get it, man. It's all the shame, the sports shame that I'm feeling at this moment. Not because I'm wrong. I know I'm right. I just don't know how to. I have failed in not being able to open your eyes. That's my failing. So I'm sorry.
But my eyes are wide open, bro. You need to get committed to this sport, and then you'll understand it. You have no authority to even talk about it because you're so not
Scott,
involved.
Just give him a top 3. Just give him a top 3.
Hold on. I gave you guys the stage, did I not? I said I'm not an expert. I said that.
Right.
Okay. That doesn't mean I don't.
Just because you're not an expert doesn't mean you have to poo-poo all over it when we get in depth on it. You know.
That's right.
about one game, I'm going to poo-poo that every time. Come at me when
Well,
we're 10
then,
games,
then
10
like
games in,
we can
then we
poo
can
poo
talk.
pro day because it doesn't matter. They didn't play any real NFL games. You can poo poo anything if you're just talking about that.
Come at us when you have some skin in the game and you actually feel the feeling of a loss when your team loses in baseball. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
let's miss. Okay.
All right. You're all right.
This is a
Top three.
mess.
I want your top 3 favorite flowers.
Flowers.
Yep, it's springtime.
That is appropriate. Rose, chrysanthemum, flowers kind of suck. I'm not really a big flower guy. I never understood them. I don't get why it's a good gift. I don't know why it's consoling. They smell good for a week and they die. Give me some chocolates. Give me an edible arrangement. I should buy some shares in edible arrangement. That is a great idea. Flowers are dumb. Third flower that I will choose. Freaking lilies, I guess. I don't know. I'm not happy about that top 3. Not my performance in it, but the top 3 itself. And actually, that made me forget my top 3. So I'm going to have to improv here. And it's going to be weird. I had such a good one, too. Oh, I remembered it. Andrew. Top 3 prehistoric animals.
Okay.
That's good shit right there. That's a good show.
Prehistoric animals. I'm gonna go with a stegosaurus, a pterodactyl, and a prehistoric ground sloth. Those things are those are pretty BA. Let's go.
That's the show. We'll yell at you later. All right. So if you've listened this far, you must, for some reason, like what you've heard. So, given that, please remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at ObsessionCast for all future episode updates and whatever else we might post, sports related or otherwise. Thanks for watching.